They're just a mess.
Yeah, and it's only 6 o'clock because they've been down the pub since 4.
That's right. Well, that's true too. Yes, that's true as well.
Hello and welcome to the Rose and Rockstar from the Rockstar CMO eveything marketing podcast and the Marketing Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ian Truscott, not a rockstar, but I am a CMO. If you're new to the podcast, in a moment, I'll join my chum, Chief Troublemaker at the 7th Bear, Robert Rose, in our virtual bar, the Rose and Rockstar, where he recommends one of his fabulous cocktails and I pick his brains on a marketing topic that is top of mind for me. This week, we've ignored Mark Twain's advice and never discussed politics or religion in polite company, and fueled by a splendid cocktail, we dive into the impact of the politicization of just about everything for brands with some advice for B2B marketing. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back. After this word.
We'll be right back.
After this word. Raise the rudder! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Welcome to the bar.
Thank you very much, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. It is spring. Spring has sprung here. It's actually hot here in Los Angeles, and so I'm not mad about it, right? I think it's good. It's nice to have a little heat.
Yeah. Even we've had some heat, which is weird. But yeah, we've had some sunshine and some warmth.
Nice. I know that's a rarity there. So it's always nice to get a little sunshine there.
We emerge from our little English hovels, blinking in the sunshine.
That's right. The Hobbit town. I always think of little Londoners emerging from their little Hobbit villages.
Well, I saw a LinkedIn post.
Looking at the sky and going, oh, it is blue.
I saw a LinkedIn post. Somebody was talking about the busyness of London because of all this working from home and all this kind of stuff. And it was they showed a picture of a Thursday night with all the, because what happens in London is everybody drinks on the street, right? And you have a few pubs around.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it all spills out onto the street. And somebody took this photo and it's like, this is great. working from home has stopped. Everybody's come down the pub. And I'm like, no, the sun came out. That was it.
Yeah. And there's that. And my favorite of that is that, because on the Thursday nights when everybody's drinking on the streets in London, is that, typically the English dress much better than Americans. And so you have all the guys are in their, their white button down shirts and ties. Yeah. But the tie has come down to the mid neckline, right? And the white sleeves have been rolled up past their elbows to stay cool, and the coats are off, right?
Yeah.
And they're sort of but they've also, because they've either taken the tube to get there or a taxi or something, basically their shirt tails are sort of like ruffled at the bottom. So they're all just a mess. They're just a mess.
Yeah, and it's only 6 o'clock because they've been down the pub since 4.
That's right. Well, that's true too. Yes, that's true as well.
All right, mate. So speaking of drinking, man, where are we going?
Oh yeah, we do have a good drink. We have a drink. We're doing a spring-like drink here. Mm-hmm. We're gonna crack out a bottle of great prosecco, and we're gonna make a prosecco mint julep.
Nice.
Because I had a hankering, and so this is the best way to make this. Is unfortunately you got to have crushed ice. If you have crushed ice, is the way to really make this drink sing. And so you basically just take a little bit of prosecco, and you can into a glass of crushed ice is the best. If you can, I don't know if you have it there. What we call it, popcorn ice here, or shaved ice. Sometimes they call it, shaved. In various parts of the U.S. But anyway, it's just crushed ice, and then you pour the prosecco over the top of that. You put a little bourbon over the top of that, and a little bit of bitters in there, and you throw in some mint to muddle that up together, and you have yourself a nice mint julep prosecco. It's very spring-like, very lovely.
Nice. That sounds.
Now
nice.
I know you can't drink bourbon there right now because you're boycotting all the American stuff. So, put in whatever you think would work there as maybe a good Canadian whiskey or something.
I'm reasonably well stocked with bourbon. I might not last the full 4 years, but
yeah. There you go.
I'm fine for this week. So whatever tariffs are in place, I can survive until they change again, right? So, well, mind you, by the time we post this, the tariffs thing may have gone away, or it may be even worse. Who knows? Anyway,
fair enough. Yeah.
And I was going to say we're not going to talk about politics, but we totally are this week. And
that's right.
I'm a bit
see how I segued there, but I just opened the door for you to segue right into it.
It's like we've done this before. I know, and I'm a bit actually loath to open this Pandora's box because I know that we've only got a limited amount of time because you've got a hard stop. But this came up on your podcast last week, and you were talking about your podcast being This Sell Marketing, and you were talking about politics and brands, and of course, you talk about the big media topics, and so you were talking about Elon's personal brand and the effect it's having on Tesla, and the issue that Ben and Jerry's had with falling out with their parent company because of the position they were taking on Israel, and Patagonia, I think you mentioned, because they're just wholesome and good, and and they carry their politics very well in terms of their brand, and so all of those three, the social issues are being woven into the brand. But I think the problem we've got at the moment, especially as you mentioned in the US, is the politics seems to be pervading every topic. So, for example, I work with a client and they're in the EV charging industry, and that's become politicized. And it's very hard to do your content marketing where you comment on industry trends and remain non-political. Bit of a long run up for this one, but I'm sure that you're going to be fine. What's your view on how B2B brands should work within the current situation in terms of politics?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can, certainly this is a US-centric perspective right now, right? Yeah. It's certainly common to across the world in varying degree, but right now it's more pronounced in the US for the obvious, where everything has become in some ways politicized. It's very hard to talk about anything without having some level of political, aspect to it. So putting that aside for the moment, the key difference for me is in having a strong belief or a point of view around something. And we've talked on this show before about, the importance of that, about a brand that is going to take a strong belief in whatever the thing is it could be anything, right? It could be very political, or it could be sort of, not even that political. It's just a belief. And one of the examples I used was, so the fast food brand Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
They have decided as a brand to take a very strong belief into the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. And they wear it on their sleeves. They don't hide it. They're proud of it. They're not open on Sundays, and so many other things about the way that they deal with, their corporate communications and their marketing and the way that they position themselves in the marketplace celebrates that, right? And in large degree, they don't, and they're not evangelizing, and they're not pointing things out, or they don't shun other things and all of that. They just have a core belief, and they believe in it, and great for them. That's what they've decided to do, and you can decide to shop there or not. Mm-hmm. And others have done the same thing around the environment, like a Patagonia, or social issues, such as Nike has done. And there are tons of brands out there that have taken a belief, but the key is not conflating the belief with the individual or the politician who aligns to that singular belief.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that the mistake that brands are typically making these days, and what we talked about on the show was sort of the Shake Shack has really come out lately supporting things like Elon Musk, and supporting Trump, and supporting RFK as a healthcare professional. And the problem with that is that instead of embracing healthy life, or instead of embracing natural ingredients, or that we're not fast food, or whatever core belief that you want to do, you're aligning yourself with a politician who is going to have beliefs on a myriad other things that you are not going to either align with or care about, or honestly you do care about, and it's going to hurt your brand. And that's the key difference, right? Is finding the places where you want to, and this is, by the way, the problem that Budweiser found themselves in when they tried to align themselves with the LGBTQ community by, aligning themselves with an influencer in that community, and basically didn't have that core brand belief. And so they got caught. And unfortunately, they created a bad situation where those in the LGBTQ community were mad at them because they didn't support it and they didn't back it up. And then they, as my friend Joe said, the Kid Rock community pissed them off because they were taking a stand on LGBTQ. So the mistake they made was not believing in the brand strong enough to say, this is our point of view on LGBTQ. They tried to take advantage and lean in on one particular influencer to take particular advantage of a campaign level idea. And that's just never going to work out as well. No. It's just not. It's just, and that's the key difference. So as we start to align ourselves more with influencers, with content creators, with politicians, with brand celebrities, all of that, the lesson is that developing your brand's point of view and then finding people who align with that point of view is one thing, but not developing a point of view and then trying to align yourself with those influencers who espouse something similar to what you think might be advantageous in the moment is the big fail.
And and I also thought what was quite interesting around the EV charging example that I was giving is that, the people in the business are concerned about what's happening politically and wanted to post about the politics of it. And so therefore, me as the CMO was then having to make a judgment of, well, you can post that yourself, but I can't, it's not as the brand, and I won't provide any branded assets for that. We as a brand are going to post something much more neutral around it, right? So I think, and I don't know if I'm getting too specific into a client's example, and I shouldn't do that, but those are the kinds of conversations we started having. So I think that's also the case, isn't it? It's what's your brand's position, but also do you then allow the individuals, because nowadays everybody has their own personal brand and their own, LinkedIn profile. Do we allow them to actually express those views?
Well, there's the rub, right? Which is the lesson that Budweiser didn't actually learn.
Yeah.
Which is the institution has to agree what their take is and how much they're going to either lean into it or not, right?
Yeah.
In other words, like any other thing that we do in brand, there should be standards, guides, tones, briefs, it should be documented, and it should be that this is our take on X, right? And this is how we are going to position ourselves within X. Here are the limits of where we will position ourselves on X.
Yeah.
And as a creator, then if you fall on the wrong side of X, in other words, you work for Patagonia, but you don't believe in the environment, which would be weird, but okay. Let's say there is, well, you either have to comport with that because that's the standard, that's the guideline for the way that we speak with the brand, or you go find another job. So, or on the other side is if, yes, I generally agree with my brand's take on X, but I actually believe in it stronger and I'm going to take it beyond what they actually do. No, there are standards. That's why it has to be so clear about what the brand's voice is, because you don't work for you work for the brand. And so that's where it has to be clear from a content strategy perspective, and where Budweiser had it all wrong because the marketing team believed in the mission of the LGBTQ and wanted to back it up and stuff like that. But clearly the business didn't, because they threw the marketing team under the bus and then they fired the marketing person in charge of it. And it was all a big mess because they didn't as an institution have a core belief.
But just a little wrinkle on that is, I think the problem I think we've got with employee influencers or people that we want them to appear human, right? And I think it's and we've all seen this on LinkedIn. I mean, recently a company that I used to work for has gone through a change. And all of my contacts within that company seem to be writing to a template. And you're like, oh, well, marketing wrote that. You don't really believe it, right? And I think you can sometimes see that, can't you, in this sort of situation. So we need to allow our employees to show a bit of personality, but it's hard to write that. If you're writing as yourself, you can say this, but if we're not going to say this as the brand, do you think there's something there?
I think I hear what you're saying, which is there's a nuance to this that is hard to police, which is as we start to rely more and more on the individual people to become the brand in our organization, which is definitely a trend. We've talked about it here. You can see it being talked about everywhere. You have to allow for the individual voices to come, the diversity of individual voices to come through. And that's, but I would argue that that's where clarity around what the brand, so that people know when they're coloring outside the lines of the sandbox. And it's super clear that they are. Now, the brand should also have a position on individuals posting on their own about what they're going to do there. A great example of that, coming back to the Chick-fil-A thing, which is, and I think a mistake that they made, but nonetheless, they were clear, was there was the girl who made, she started posting on her own that she was a Chick-fil-A employee, and that she made her little video went viral and stuff like that. And everybody went, you should, it was very nice. And they said, nope, that's not what we're about. Right. We don't want you posting that kind of content. That's not what you're hired to do. And we don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
My applause for that is they're clear. They're absolutely clear on what they want where they draw the line, and they're drawing that nuance. Where I think they made a mistake is I think they made the wrong decision. I think they should have leaned into it. But that nonetheless, I can applaud them for at least having clarity in the situation, right? Where it's not fuzzy. It's not a, well, yeah, they're kind of, and so the employee understands that this is the limit of what they can do, and they can either choose to work there or not.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name, because I wrote about that thing, and I was trying to remember the name of that lady. And I thought, and you're right, it was Miriam, and because she had a very distinctive name, so her name was Miriam, and my argument was that we all need more Miriams, right? But you're absolutely right. If that isn't the policy within that organization, you and I can say this: you've made a mistake. This is terrible content marketing, but or a terrible opportunity lost. Then we should, you're absolutely, and we should.
They have a point. They have a policy and a point of view on it. We may not agree with it. but at least they have one, right? The worst part is if they had let her go and without any sort of direction at all and basically let it continue and continue and continue and then like come in like bad guys, right? Come in like the bad guys and basically said, oh, now we're tired of it, right? Now you've gone too far. It's like, no. They I mean, arguably they didn't do it fast enough, right? Because she went viral pretty quickly there. But I think they were what they were doing, and I'm literally assuming because I don't know, but I would assume that what they were doing was they were seeing basically if it was something that would die on its own or whether or not that it would continue to have legs. And then when it started to have legs and they started calling her the Chick-fil-A girl and all that, it's like, okay, that's not what we want. We don't want her to become the Chick-fil-A girl because that's now our brand, right?
Yeah. And as you say, the problem is when brands don't have a policy and then react and then everybody's surprised, and that's the worst possible thing, isn't it? Anyway, we have come up to time. And also, one of the things I wanted to raise as well is that I think that aligning yourself with a political view can be a great opportunity. So we're seeing that with diversity right now, but I'm not going to open that. I'm not going to open that can of worms because I'm going to ask you, where can we find content that is completely on point when it comes to politics?
You'll find that at our little political belief, which is seventhbear.com.
Splendid. And when people spin the dial on the interwebs, where are they going to find you, my friend?
They'll find me on LinkedIn or on my own little podcast called This Old Marketing. And you get that at thisoldmarketing.com.
And will you be in the bar next week?
Well, of course I will.
Excellent, man. I'll see you then. Cheers. Thank you, Robert. A tricky and often divisive topic, and it underlines the importance of understanding your audience and the authenticity of the position of your brand and the gap between what your audience thinks you stand for and what you actually say. So that's a wrap on our visit to the Rose and Rockstar. Thank you for joining us and for listening. And if you'd like us to discuss a marketing topic that is top of mind for you, please get in touch. You can find links to me and Robert in the show notes at rockstarcmo.com, plus our blog, newsletter, and a tiny bit about my little agency, Rockstar CMO. Or connect or follow us on LinkedIn. Just search for Rockstar CMO. Please mention you're a listener if you'd like to connect. Coming up this week on Rockstar CMO FM, Kathy is back in the marketing studio on Wednesday and we'll be discussing content localization. In the meantime, remember, as eveything said in the film The School of Rock, you can't just say it, man. You got to feel it in your blood and guts if you want to rock.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Henneke Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Henneke, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennekewatkins-porter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.